Record heat in the Midwest, wildfires in the West, and a threat of a tropical storm in the South, the latest on the potentially dangerous conditions across the country. Plus, the U.S. prepares to send a major arms package to Israel. And how the extreme heat impacts the economy. Newswatch starts right now. As extreme heat continues, today in Athens, temperatures reached their highest point in the last 5 years. Good evening, I'm Donovan Varney, and welcome to Newswatch. Newswatch forecaster Isabel Isco has more on what to expect.
That heat is really coming in today. We are going to be seeing all across Ohio this heat advisory that's continuing until Friday. That really means stay inside when you can, get in those cool spots, hydrate very much. You're going to be needing anything that you can to stay out of this heat that we're experiencing. You can see currently out there we are 89 degrees clear, but that heat index 95. That feels like temperature. You could kind of ignore that 89, and it is feeling like 95 out there. For 6:30, it is very, very warm out there for this time. We're seeing over these past 24 hours that we didn't even break those 70s last night. We got the lowest at 72, and then by that 8 a.m., 9 a.m. hour, we were already in those high 70s, went into those 80s, and we were seeing the peak temperature in those 90s today. We're seeing currently out there Athens 89 as we go to Lancaster 86, but all throughout Southeast Ohio, they're still in those 90s. It's been really a hot one, uncomfortably hot with this humidity that we're having. This humidity is giving us some chances of some showers for tonight. We're seeing some sporadic isolated storms, very similar to last night, not as much thunder or lightning, but we do have that 20% chance of thunderstorms for tonight. We're still going to be not breaking those 70s looking at later in the night. We're going to be having a very hot week coming up. Let's take it back over to Donovan.
Thanks, Isabel. While millions in the Northeast and Midwest are facing sweltering temperatures, wildfires are raging in the West, forcing evacuations in New Mexico and California. All of this is happening as parts of the South are under a tropical storm warning. Lee Waldman has more on the extreme weather.
A wall of smoke filled the sky in New Mexico as two wildfires converged like a pair of tongs around the village of Ruidoso, where thousands of people were forced to leave their homes.
It's going to take a lot to get everything back, but, as long as lives are saved and, homes are always replaceable.
The area in an extreme drought for nearly a year. In California, several fires are burning across the state. More than 1,000 firefighters are working to contain the post-fire, which has burned more than 15,000 acres since Saturday. Winds and rugged terrain making the firefight more challenging.
We're talking between 50 and 60 miles an hour gust up on the ridges.
Across the country, New York's Governor Kathy Hochul is alerting parts of the state for a heat wave not seen in decades, activating the National Guard and opening cooling centers.
We don't need any fancy data to tell us this. It's going to be extremely hot and uncomfortable. In fact, it'll be dangerously hot.
Dangerous heat is hitting major metropolitan areas from Chicago to Boston. Meanwhile, in the Gulf, the hurricane season's first threat is churning. The National Hurricane Center predicts the tropical system will unload torrential rains, bringing flooding threats to the U.S., western Gulf Coast, parts of Central America, and parts of Mexico. In New York, I'm Lee Waldman reporting.
For those struggling with the heat and need a place to cool off, help is available. Several organizations and outreach groups are opening their doors as cooling centers for those trying to escape the high temperatures. If you're in Athens, you can go to the Athens Community Center. People living in Jackson can head over to the YMCA. And if you're in Nelsonville, you can head over to the City Conference Room. Athens is now part of a collective effort to save the local recycling center. The City Council passed an ordinance last night giving Athens membership into a Waste Management Council of Governments. The COG was created to save the Athens Hocking Recycling Center after Athens switched its garbage hauling contract to Rumpke in November due to a much lower bid. Athens joins Amesville, the Solid Waste District, and Nelsonville in the COG. Students at 11 career centers in Appalachian, Ohio will have more opportunities for hands-on learning. It's all thanks to an $88 million grant fund from the state. The Career Centers can apply for the funds to expand their facilities or programs. Leaders at the centers can give students the chance to gain the skills that set them up for their future.
Kids want to come to school, they're excited about coming to school, and they really want to be in these programs to learn skills to go on.
We see where whole families are changed overnight just by landing a job that's going to make 6 digits in 5 years.
Centers receiving the funds must complete their projects by 2026. A police department in Meigs County is beginning the layoff process after discovering budget issues. Middleport Mayor Ben Neese announced via Facebook that the department would be issuing temporary layoffs. Village Council gave MPD a pay raise in July of 2023, and they just discovered that the city doesn't have the money for the raises. The Meigs County Sheriff's Department will be assisting in coverage for Middleport until the issue is resolved. With home values increasing throughout Ohio, many owners may see steep property tax hikes. And while to the help are being prepared, it's unlikely it'll come in time. Values have gone up by over 30% in some parts of the state, and lawmakers are considering over a dozen property tax relief bills, though they go on a summer break at the end of this month and aren't scheduled to be back in session until after this fall's election. Food banks across the nation are worried Congress will cut benefits to programs like SNAP, which gives people money to buy groceries. Newswatch reporter Allison Patton has more on how this affects Southeast Ohio.
The Athens County Food Pantry serves over 700 families a month. The organization is worried those numbers could increase if a provision affecting SNAP benefits remain in the Farm Bill. That provision would freeze a key metric called the Thrifty Food Plan, which looks at what food should be in a healthy diet and the cost of buying that food. And it is used to help calculate SNAP benefits.
We are really worried about not keeping pace with the nutrition science and how this may impact SNAP's ability to kind of remain nimble.
The freeze would effectively lead to a $30 billion cut to SNAP over 10 years. Inadequate SNAP funds is a major concern for HAPCAP Development Director Eva Bloom.
We want to make sure that folks who are receiving SNAP are receiving enough money to make a meaningful difference so that they can purchase nutritional food.
Pantry President Karen Bright says if SNAP benefits are only linked to inflation, they'll be seeing more people at their door.
It's just going to mean less buying power for those food stamps.
The House Farm Bill has until September 30th to pass. Reporting for Newswatch, I'm Allison Patton in Athens.
Coming up, where do presidential candidates Joe Biden and Donald Trump stand on LGBTQ rights? And the U.S. prepares to send a major arms package to Israel.
This heat bubble is really affecting the East Coast. When are we going to start seeing it cool down? Next on Newswatch.
The Black preaching tradition is deeply connected to gospel music. Our singers preach and our preachers sing.
God, we ask that you reinvigorate somebody.
You feel it deep down in your soul. It makes you want to shout. It makes you want to sing.
That's beautiful.
Thursday at 9 on WOUB.
Fasten your seatbelt.
This is amazing.
Wow.
Did you vote?
It feels like I have a home.
These are your immigrant ancestors.
This is wild.
Never anticipated this. I am forever changed.
I'm pleased to tell you you're going to be finding your roots.
Are we really this close?
I can't tell you what we found, but what we found was you.
Understanding the past gives a sense of the future.
This is the first time that anyone has seen this in 2,000 years.
This is amazing.
Well, I'm excited now.
Pompeii is a battle against time.
You think I'm joking, but look at this. It did really happen.
Don't let anybody tell you who you are.
History teaches us to honor the past.
When you look back, you're like, wow, that was pretty special.
This is something that's actually altering the course of history.
You're charged with keeping these stories alive.
lawsuit filed by 6 states, including Ohio, has led to the blocking of an effort to expand Title IX. That's the law that prohibits sex-based discrimination in schools. The Biden administration proposed extending those protections for LGBTQ+ students. The new rules were set to take effect on August 1st. But 6 states, Indiana, Kentucky, Ohio, Tennessee, Virginia, and West Virginia, filed a lawsuit that challenged the provision. A federal judge sided with the states, saying that for now, the new protections cannot go forward while the lawsuit plays out. And as voters in the U.S. are faced with 2 presumptive presidential nominees who hold largely different views on LGBTQ+ rights and protections, where do President Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump stand? Julia Benbrook is in Washington with a look at their policies and promises.
June is Pride Month.
Pride means be happy, be yourself.
A celebration of the progress the LGBTQ+ community has made on the road to acceptance and equality.
We're not weird. We're not on the fringe. We're here.
President Joe Biden says the protection and expansion of rights for the community is central to his campaign and administration.
You are loved. You are heard. You are understood. And you belong.
Biden signed the Respect for Marriage Act in 2022, which provides federal protections for same-sex couples. But like many Americans, his beliefs have changed over time. From supporting the Defense of Marriage Act while serving as a senator,
marriage is between a man and a woman,
to an evolution a few years later as vice president.
Men marrying men, women marrying women are entitled to the same exact rights, all the civil rights, all the civil liberties.
Around that same time, former President Donald Trump stated his position.
I don't support gay marriage.
In 2016, when asked about his view on same-sex marriage, he said he was fine with it and that the Supreme Court had settled the matter. Trump's first-term agenda included rolling back a number of protections for LGBTQ+ individuals, including banning new recruits who are transgender from serving in the military. Throughout his 2024 campaign, he's put a focus on banning transgender athletes from participating in women's sports.
Something I find hard to believe that I even have to say, I will keep men out of women's sports.
Trump has also said he'd seek to make gender-affirming care for minors illegal if he returns to the White House.
According to new data from the Pew Research Center, the views of these candidates are generally in line with their voters. For example, Biden supporters are 5 times as likely as Trump supporters to say the legalization of same-sex marriage is good for society. Reporting at the White House, I'm Julia Benbrook.
Taking a look outside, we're going to be seeing Athens currently at 89, Lancaster 86, but for the rest of Southeast Ohio, we are still in those 90s. Parkersburg, you might be seeing a few sprinkles here and there. They're getting hit with that rain that we're seeing right now on the radar. We're going to be seeing that continue. Can we get to the next thing? There we go. We're going to be seeing that rain hit Parkersburg right about now. We're going to be seeing that chance of rain throughout the night for the mass majority of Southeast Ohio. Looking at those warnings, we're still under that heat advisory. That goes until Friday at 8 p.m. Definitely stay inside when you can. Don't do too much vigorous exercise outside during those peak hours. We're going to be needing to hydrate and make sure that you're looking out for your loved ones during this time. Looking at tonight, we're not even breaking those 70 degrees. We're going to be at that overnight low of 71. That thunderstorm chance that I was talking about earlier is going to be going into tonight. But looking at tomorrow, we're just going to have those clouds stick around from that chance of rain. That temperature high of 93, those clouds are going to be keeping that humidity around. It is going to be feeling a lot warmer than what it actually is. That 93 is going to be feeling like today, how it felt a lot warmer, that stickiness, that uncomfortableness. So definitely, if you can, stay inside, stay in that AC, stay in front of that fan. It'll feel a lot better than outside with that low of 69, barely making it under those 70s. We're going to be looking 12 hours ahead this time early morning. We're going to be having just those isolated chances of that rain going to be passing us. We're going to be seeing just those clouds really from this system. We're going to be seeing 24 hours ahead this time tomorrow. There is a slight chance that we might see the same exact thing as today, where it's just that mugginess kind of builds up and gives us a little bit of that chance of rain in the later of the night. We're going to be seeing 36 hours ahead that we're going to be having this clearing. We're going to be seeing this high pressure come up. that is going to be clearing us out looking at our Thursday and Friday. It is going to be a lot clearer and it's going to be a lot warmer. I know it already feels like it's pretty warm up there, but we are going to be warming up once we hit that Friday, Saturday. We're going to be in those high 90s looking at those next couple days. For tomorrow, for Juneteenth, hopefully you get to celebrate a little bit outside. That'll be 93, so definitely make sure that you're watching out for your friends. On Thursday, 95, those partly sunny skies, those clouds are going to be making its way out on Friday and Saturday. That is whenever it's going to be sunny and just as hot. We're going to be seeing those high 90s for both of those days, so definitely make sure that you're staying safe out there for your weekend. Once we're looking at Sunday, that's whenever we're going to have that chance of thunderstorms. Those chance of thunderstorms are going to start cooling us down. That's whenever we're going to be seeing that low of 67, which isn't that low, but it is low for these next few days that we're going to be having. And the next time that we're going to be seeing those 80-degree temperatures is next Monday. And then once we're looking at this time this week, we're going to be back to those 90-degree temperatures. Let's take it back over to Donovan.
Thanks, Isabel. A major arms deal for Israel has gotten the go-ahead from Congress. The deal is expected to be worth $18 billion and include 50 F-15 fighter jets. Two key congressional Democrats had been holding up the sale. Representative Gregory Meeks, the top Democrat on the House Foreign Affairs Committee, delayed signing off on the deal in April. But yesterday, he got the assurances he wanted from the Biden administration and officially approved it. Meanwhile, Senator Ben Cardin also gave the green light after discussions with the administration. Senator Ted Cruz unveiled bipartisan legislation that aims to protect victims of deepfake pornography. In recent years, artificial intelligence tools have enabled people to create lifelike but fake images and videos depicting real people, also known as deepfakes. In some cases, a deepfake of a real person is depicted engaged in sexual activity. The Take It Down Act seeks to provide broad protections against this sort of thing by criminalizing deepfake porn. The bill would require social media and similar websites to have procedures in place for removing deepfake revenge pornography upon notification from a victim. The Federal Trade Commission has referred a complaint against TikTok and its parent company, ByteDance, to the Justice Department. The FTC says the complaint is for an alleged violation of children's privacy. The announcement adds to the legal headaches facing the embattled social media platform and follows an investigation into whether TikTok may have breached a 2019 settlement with the FTC. The FTC's referral to the Justice Department indicates litigation is on the horizon. The company is also facing a legal challenge to a law that could ban TikTok from the U.S. unless it finds a new, quote, non-Chinese owner. Next, how the extreme heat impacts the economy. And for the latest from Newswatch, follow us on X, formerly Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube.
For more than 70 years, WOUB Public Media has been the place where people in our region turn to learn how stories of the past ignite the imagination of the future. It's where information, entertainment, and education work together to inform, enlighten, and inspire generations. It's the place where the community gathers to hear and see our world in new and innovative ways. WOUB, the public media you trust that's worthy of your support.
There's a lot of places we weren't allowed to go.
There was a black school called Lincoln Elementary.
We knew they weren't going to let us in.
We marched every day, whether it was rain, sunshine, cold.
I feel enormous pride in my mother for standing up the way she did.
Wednesday at 6:30 on WOUB.
I picked up my shovel and I walked to the mines.
I picked up my shovel and walked to the mines.
I loaded 16-ton of number 9 coal.
A meditation on the complex history and potential future of Central Appalachia. A lyrical mosaic of a place, its people, and way of life. King Coal on POV.
Monday at 10 on WOUB.
This November's election will be critical. We will be electing a new president, a new Congress, and scores of state and local leaders. We'll be asked to approve initiatives from abortion to taxes to education. Do you know what's at stake? Will your voice be heard? Many states have made changes on where, when, and how you can vote. To find out what's on your ballot and what you need to know to make sure your vote is counted, go to pbs.org/preserving democracy.
If you own a home, you've likely noticed the cost of living has spiked. A recent study found the cost of owning and maintaining a home has jumped 26% in the last 4 years. Even as inflation overall cooled slightly last month, home expenses continue to rise. Costs rose for a fourth month in a row and are up 5.4% year over year. The average American is now paying an additional $1,500 per month on top of their mortgage payment, over $300 more than 2020. With high inflation and elevated interest rates, consumers pulled back on spending last month. Retail sales rose just 0.1% in May, according to the Commerce Department. That's below economists' expectations. Sales declined the most at gas stations, furniture stores, and shops that sell building materials and garden equipment. Meanwhile, spending was the strongest at specialty stores that sell sporting goods, books, and musical instruments. With millions of Americans under this heat alert this week, households and businesses might want to think about how extreme heat could impact their bottom line. Karen Kaifa is in Washington with a look at some of the numbers and ways for households to safely cut those costs.
Extreme heat is becoming more frequent and more costly.
We would never think about planning for wildfire season or hurricane season just during those seasons.
Ashley Ward of the Duke University Heat Policy Innovation Hub says that these punishing heat waves make it more expensive to cool a home.
When temperatures overnight don't fall below 75 degrees, for example, it doesn't give the body or any living thing or our energy systems time to recover from that daytime exposure.
David Tinsley, senior economist for the Bank of America Institute, says their analysis found higher average temperatures boosting consumers' average monthly utility payments by 23% since 2019.
All the data is suggesting that these heat waves are hotter and are lasting longer. And so when that occurs, people have to turn up their aircon and leave it on longer, and that's adding to cost.
There's a burden on businesses, too. In a 2023 report, the U.S. Congress Joint Economic Committee cited data pointing to more than 2.5 billion hours of lost labor across certain sectors like agriculture, construction, and manufacturing.
These extremes of heat are really impactful. So it does have a somewhat depressing effect on the overall economy.
Extreme heat can also disrupt the airline industry. When air is hot and less dense, planes need less weight or more runway for takeoff. That can lead to bumped passengers or baggage or canceled flights. In Washington, I'm Karen Kaifa.
Doctors have a different view on a frequently used diabetes drug. According to a pair of studies published in the Annals of Internal Medicine, people who take metformin do not appear to have a greater risk of conceiving a child with birth defects. These findings contradict a 2022 study that said men who took metformin 3 months before impregnating a woman had a 40% greater chance of having a child with defects. Metformin has been used to treat blood sugar levels for decades, although people are advised to tell their doctors if pregnancy plans are in their future. Extreme heat can also seriously impact the 38 million Americans with diabetes. Experts say people with diabetes can actually feel the heat more than people who aren't diabetic. Dr. Bithika Thompson with the Mayo Clinic says sweating can make you dehydrated, which affects the body's ability to normalize blood sugar. In a diabetic patient, that can make sugar levels in the blood get dangerously low or high.
So diabetes have to be really careful in the heat to really think even more than they normally do about the direction of their blood sugar.
The CDC says those with diabetes shouldn't let the heat stop them from taking supplies or medication when they go out. Instead, experts say to keep insulin and other medicines in the cooler if you're traveling, but they say not to put insulin directly on an ice or gel pack. Nationwide Insurance is dropping pet insurance policies for roughly 100,000 animals. The company blames higher veterinary costs and other factors. The move puts tens of thousands of pet owners in a tough spot because a lot of these animals are losing coverage, they're older, and they have pre-existing conditions. That means they may not be insurable elsewhere. Nationwide said it didn't cancel policies because of pets' ages or claim histories, though some customers are trying to organize to potentially take legal action. Still ahead, a first responder jumps into action to stop crime, literally. But first, here's a look at what's coming up tonight on your public television station.
I love my work. I absolutely love being out here.
Oh, look at that. Careful, careful, careful. Oh, amazing. This is the first time I saw in my life.
It's just a great honor to be there and to witness it.
Wednesday at 8 on WOUB.
The world is eating more seafood than ever before.
Some of the resources have been overfished.
That has consequences.
Humans have no option. If we are to survive on this planet and feed ourselves, we have to look after nature.
This is like where all the magic happens.
It's a very simple message. I want you to fish, but I want you to fish smart.
Wednesday at 9 on WOUB.
When you hear the term the future, what does that conjure up?
What we do and the things we create over the next few decades will shape all minds going forward for the rest of time.
I set out in search of people who are building better futures.
Civilization is precious. Life is precious.
Hundreds of years from now, they are going to look back on our generation as the most pivotal in human history.
If you don't drive it, donate it and support something you use every day.
Finally tonight, check out the moment Willoughby firefighter Brian Palladino hops into the window of a moving ambulance to stop it from being stolen, holding on for dear life as the hijacked vehicle comes to a stop, crashing into the side of a helipad.
I was just like, this guy's trying to steal a very expensive piece of equipment.
And that's why Palladino jumped into action. He says he fought with the fleeing suspect while half of his body was hanging out of the window. And that's how he quickly put an end to the theft. Palladino suffered minor injuries but is okay. And the suspect is now facing charges. Okay.
That is just like insane. It's quick. It's so insane how quickly he got into action.
I know, he was thinking super fast, just jumped right into it and took care of business. It's kind of impressive.
It is very, very impressive. I feel like I don't think I could do that.
I don't know about me either, I can't lie.
Well, I think we should look into our last look at weather tonight. So we're going to be seeing out there that we're going to be having that heat index warning still going until Friday at 8 p.m. We're going to be having that heat advisory until 8 p.m. on Friday. So we're going to be continuing with this uncomfortable heat all throughout the week. Currently out there, 89, that heat index of 95. It is really still feeling sticky out there, so definitely stay inside while you can. We're going to be seeing tonight, we're not even going to be breaking those 70s, that overnight low of 71. That 20% chance of thunderstorms is possible. That'll be in that late a.m. hour, but we're going to be seeing that chance throughout the night. We're going to be seeing tomorrow, those clouds are still going to be sticking around. That high of 93, that low of 69. Throughout the week, this week, we're still going to be experiencing those very hot temperatures until we're looking at this time next week. We're still going to be in those 90s, other than this time on next Monday. So definitely, if you're going to be outside, be very, very cautious looking at this week, and definitely stay inside while you can.
And that does it for our broadcast this evening. Thanks for watching. For Isabel Esco, I'm Donovan Varney. Stay tuned for the PBS NewsHour coming up next. And remember, you can find the latest news anytime at woub.org or follow us on social media. Have a great night.